Welcome to Elevation Nation with your hosts Sam Panich and Parker Yablon. Elevation Nation is a community focused on bringing together young adults who are elevating themselves and others every day. Each week, we welcome a new elevator to share their story and experiences to help you conquer the real world. What's going on, Elevation Nation? It is April 2026, and we had on this elevator back in September of 2025, Julia Resnick. Welcome back to Elevation Nation, the psychotherapist of Elevation Nation. And, I know it's only been less than a year. There's a lot to talk about. What's going on, Julia?
Well, thank you for having me. For those who don't know me, I'd love to introduce myself who didn't listen to our episode a little bit ago, but I'm Julia, therapist at Be You Psychotherapy in New York. And why I love doing these podcasts and speaking engagements is because I really brand myself on taking a lived in approach. So I specialize in things that I've lived through: anxiety, OCD, chronic illness. And so I like my clients to know that I'm human and offer that higher level of empathy, turning pain into purpose, all those good things. So I'm excited to be back on and get into the nitty gritty with you both.
And we're excited to have you. You know how companies have in-house counsel, like Elevation Nation, we have our lawyer. I feel like you now are Parker and our therapist here. You can help us work through all of our issues and drama together while helping to elevate the mindset of all of our listeners. So Julia, we are so excited to have you back. We love your approach on lived in experiences, and certainly that has such a beneficial impact on all of your clients. But you've gone through some interesting life events in the past year that has added another not so great, but very purposeful lived in experience to your kind of collection. Can you talk to us about what you've been going through the last year and how it's impacted you and how you approach kind of your own mindset and holistic health?
Yeah, I love that you use the word collection. Like I have a collection of things happening to me. I like that language. So to catch you guys up, I think I said on the last podcast, I'm not sure, that I specialize in chronic health because I struggled with an autoimmune disease, that being arthritis. And so since September, since I saw you, I experienced one of the worst flare ups that I've had. I was experiencing some sort of stomach flare up. I actually got diagnosed with Crohn's at the end of 2025. And so now, using Sam's word of collection, I've got a collection of autoimmune diseases, that being arthritis and Crohn's. And I was saying to Sam earlier, it's not the craziest things. You see a lot of comorbidity in mental health. You see in the autoimmune world of somebody might have inflammation and Crohn's, but they also have joint pain. There's a lot of overlapping symptoms in the autoimmune world. So it wasn't that surprising, but I'm feeling so much better. I'm back to working out, eating anything I want. My quality of life is fantastic. So I'm happy to just talk more about it and how it affected my holistic wellness, because that was definitely a priority and something I had to look real and hard at last year.
Well, we're glad you're feeling good.
Thank you.
And I imagine that when you get this diagnosis, your head goes like, oh, wow, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Whether it's, medication or different routines or different holistic wellness things that you're going to incorporate or probably continue to do, because we know you have such a routine. But others too, like they obviously, put things into practice and they may not get better, or they do get better. When you just found out back in 2025 about this new diagnosis, what were some changes that you made in your life, as well as some things that you knew were really good for you to continue to keep doing?
Yeah. I think you'll probably laugh at this, but I was gluten free for just inflammation purposes, for my arthritis. I thought minimal dairy, minimal gluten was really good for me. And when I got the diagnosis of Crohn's, I was kind of like, F it. Why am I restricting myself and I'm still getting so much inflammation. And so, something that I did differently, and my friends and family were laughing at this. I was the happiest person to find out I had Crohn's disease because my doctor said to me as soon as I woke up from my colonoscopy, I had Famous Amos cookies and Cheez Its next to me. And I said to the doctor, do I have to be gluten free now that I have Crohn's? And he said, you have to make up for a lot of lost time. It has nothing to do with celiac or gluten. It's your Crohn's, it's your inflammation. So I have been eating like I'm maybe 16 years old again. And that has been the most fun thing about the new Crohn's diagnosis is I'm eating, I mean, New York City pizza, New York City bagel, talk about all the classics. I'm having the best time. But in terms of on a serious note, definitely managing, restricting certain foods that are obviously harder to digest. But really, I think I'm not taking an intense approach like I did with my first diagnosis. When I first got diagnosed with arthritis, it was cut out sugar, gluten, dairy, really intense routines to try to lower my inflammation. And you learn the more you stress about your inflammation, the more inflamed you are, the more miserable and stressed you are. And so with this diagnosis, I really just sat in gratitude of I'm so glad I got on this steroid. I'm so glad I got on this new medication that I have a newfound respect and zest for life. It sounds really silly, but I'm just happy for every day. I'm happy I have the strength to move my body. I'm not 94 pounds malnourished. And so, in terms of changes, in terms of things I'm doing the same, I love my routine. I love working out every morning. I love seeing my clients, getting dinner with friends. And it's been really fun to go out to dinner with people and eat everything on the table. It sounds so simple, but having this quality of life back, being able to eat, I was taking a sip of water or a bite of food and not being able to digest it. I couldn't really live. I was just surviving, I was saying in 2025. And I really feel like my 2026 word is to thrive instead of survive. And I really feel like I'm doing so.
And it sounds like, thank goodness for you catching this finally, the doctors pointing you in the right direction. We were talking before the episode started with fellow elevator and our friend Dane Johnson, who went through much longer battles than you were to kind of figure out what was going on. And it took years
Yeah.
and years of many tests for him to finally figure out what kind of correct path he needed to go down. So I love that you are just being grateful for, I'm sure it was a very painful journey, certainly many years still, but now we have so many years ahead of you that you get to eat all the cookies in the world. And so we're very excited for you, Julia, on this path. And certainly when you were battling all of these inflammation issues, stomach issues, everything in between, it takes a toll on your mental health. And so I want to talk for a bit about your
Yeah.
mindset, during all those episodes. And now, of course, you mentioned a little bit after. How are you using kind of your memory of how probably miserable you were when you were in the thick of it to relate to so many of your patients who kind of feel like no one understands them?
Yeah. Those are really all great questions. I think having this lived in approach, it's turning that pain into purpose. And I have plenty of clients who are struggling with autoimmune, chronic health, chronic pain. And I think to just sit that with them in it and say to them how horrible it is and how exhausting it is, and honestly depressed. I'm not saying that I was diagnosing myself with major depressive disorder. I'm diagnosed with any of my clients, but to know what it's like to have to just survive and try to be a normal person and maintain social relationships and work, career, it takes such a toll on your mental health. And I think for some reason, I just have this mindset of resilience and strength. And I think it saved me. I think my purpose every day is to be a therapist and to support people. And so even when I was in the thick of not feeling well, I didn't miss a session. I didn't go on a break. I said, my job is to be consistent and I can do that. And I sat at my desk. Thank God I work from home. I have the privilege of having a flexible enough schedule that I showed up every day for my clients. And I think, again, did I show up 100% as the best therapist I could have every single day? No, but nobody's asking that of me. And so I think when you ask about my mindset, it was just do the best you can. Showing up and being consistent is miles ahead of what other people are doing. For friends, family, they might be inconsistent, but I'm the one person in my client's life that they can really count on. They know Tuesday afternoon, Julie is showing up. Whether I was malnourished or not, I was there. And I think that's what really kept me going is do the best you can, 100%, 80%, 60%. It's enough. And really emotionally understanding that was very hard in the beginning. I felt like I was failing at being a friend, at being a therapist. And when you really get down to it, nobody even knew. None of my clients even knew until I disclosed, hey, I can't come into the office. I'm experiencing a flare up, and everyone is so supportive, my clients, my family, my friends. And so, one day at a time, doing the best you can is really all you can do in those moments.
Especially when new things come up, right? Like we know you before this all transpired, and you have this elevated mindset, right? That you care so deeply about your work and your clients and about your passions outside of work. And then something happens and it,
Yep.
throws you off course, right? But Julia, you found your way back, but it's a new way back, right? New routines, new perspectives, possibly new ways of thinking about your own health and new ways that you're approaching your conversations, not only with friends and family, but of course your clients too. And something that Sam and I have been talking a ton about recently on
Mhm.
Elevation Nation is holistic wellness and optimization, and how in 2026 it feels like it's almost like a trend in a
Yeah.
way that like everyone's like leaning towards how can I do more wellness activities? How do I wear my Whoop or my Garmin or my Aura ring to, understand how my body is every single second of the day as well as when I sleep. Talk about a little bit what you're seeing in the world of holistic wellness. And, Sam and I debated this earlier today. Is it almost a good thing or a bad thing that we're over optimizing for wellness in a sense in 2026?
Very interesting debate. And I would love to hear your thoughts as well. I think people are definitely overcorrecting and definitely being a bit extreme. I'm seeing a lot of all or nothing, extreme black and white routines. I think people talk about the Aura ring. I have people wanting the best sleep score, the most perfect readiness score. They want crowns every day. And when you're seeing all of this data, how can you not fixate on it? Right. And I have a lot of clients, I specialize in OCD. They're stickier than the average. They're really fixating on their wellness. And so, what I try to emphasize is that your routine and your wellness routine should be individualized to you. And so, what that means, it should be flexible, it should be simple, and it should be individualized. Where what I usually say is have some form of anchor habit. What I call an anchor habit, for example, is sleep. Sleep schedule can be an anchor habit where if you are getting consistent sleep, your mood improves, your energy improves, your focus improves. You might make better nutrition decisions because you worked out that day because you have more energy. And so it's really this positive feedback loop where once you anchor in sleep, it's kind of like habit stacking. And so I think sleep is the number one thing I would recommend in a wellness routine to start simple, not be have the perfect sleep score, the perfect social life, the perfect workout routine. Being really flexible is the most important thing.
We had a 15-minute debate on this earlier today, Julia, and that's why Parker and I were smiling and laughing because you brought up things that we were talking about is getting obsessed with the gamification of our own health. And
Yeah.
in modern society, humans wanting results and to make instant changes and see that impact. And so Parker was talking about when he doesn't get a good sleep score, but he thought he had a good night's sleep and he checks his watch and it's like, you actually didn't. It ruins
Yep.
his day. And so we were debating, is it actually helping us be healthier or is it causing more anxiety and stress? And I think when we take a step back and look at all the data we're getting now and combine that with another trend and movement, which I think is going back to more um, old ancient ways of living. I don't know if
Right.
you guys have seen that or just my TikTok and Instagram is very biased to that right now, but we've had on a few Elevation Nation guests that they're very natural and how they go back and kind of eat their more natural foods and unprocessed foods and things like that. And so you read and you watch these documentaries that say all these things that we're supposed to be doing and you go, I can't even do those. And that's where you get
Yeah.
overwhelmed. And I think to your point, starting with one simple anchor kind of action that you can really root yourself in and try to slowly improve is a really, really smart way to go about that.
Yeah, I have a client recently who was saying what Parker was saying of, I got I thought I got 8 hours of sleep when my Oura ring said I got 4 hours. The day's shot, right? And I said to this client, "Well, what time did you get into bed?" They said 8:30. And I was up at 7, and I don't know how I got 4 hours of sleep. I say to them, "But look at the rest that you got. Your heart rate, your resting heart rate was probably decreased. Maybe you were in bed with your wife and you had great conversation. Maybe you connected watching a movie. There is also rest here. And so maybe you're not getting the best sleep, but to be able to rephrase and restructure what it means to be productive and well, maybe you were in bed for 10 hours. That's still rest. That's still enough. And I think focusing on enough. And I think that also gets into what you guys want to talk about of structure versus flexibility. You got to be flexible. When you have that, Parker may have a low energy day because his aura ring told him he got 4 hours of sleep. Instead of saying, oh, the day is shot, if Parker was my client, I would say, well, let's form a routine on your low energy days and let's form a routine on your high energy days. And we can kind of adjust as needed with still a really important structure there, but flexibility being there too.
It's funny that you bring that up because Sam and I feel like every person has some type of routine in their normal day to day. I don't want to generalize, but people, they wake up and they do whatever they need to do and then they go to bed. Sam, when he wakes up, is very structured, very to the point. It's almost like he planned it 3 or 4 days ago in advance every day. And he goes through the days and he likes that structure. For
Mhm,
me, I like the flexibility throughout my day to be able to feel how I am in a moment and maybe flex. Sometimes that's a challenge though, Julia. I will say, because then it pulls me out of my routine or my focus at work or
mhm.
the things that I thought I was supposed to get done. And so I look at Sam and I'm like, man, I wish I could be more regimented and structured like Sam. He's always getting a lot of stuff done. I also know that Sam, wishes maybe he had a little bit more flexibility in his day, a little bit more ease. Whereas with me, I'm like, I'm getting stuff done, but I'm also feeling good because I allowed for that
Right.
flexibility. Where you sit in the middle of structure versus flexibility?
So I think, especially with my job as a therapist, we always say it's predictably unpredictable. I don't have the same day ever. I might wake up to, I have a stomach bug, I need to cancel. Hey, my girlfriend just broke up with me. Can you squeeze me in for a session? My days are very unpredictable. And I really like that. I'm kind of type B, and nobody really would know that about me in a work environment, how type B I am. But in terms of what I like to control is my mornings and my night. And so I think I said this on our last pod that I do wake up at the same time every day and I do work out before I start work and I do shower and I do have some sort of protein and then I start my day. But on days where I didn't get enough sleep, if I know I'm up too late, I'll cancel my workout before I go to bed and say I need to prioritize sleep. And so I might sleep in, but then I'm still showering, I'm still doing my skincare, I'm still eating breakfast, I'm still doing admin, and I'm still starting work at the same time. So my mornings are pretty structured, but also flexible when I need more sleep because I think sleep is my top anchor habit. Same thing at night. I'm always taking a hot shower, figuratively, washing off the day and getting into bed, whether I'm reading, whether I'm scrolling. I think every therapist needs to disassociate a little bit. So I think I'm really in between you guys. And I think, the definition of balance, I don't think anybody really knows what achieving balance is. But I think having some things you can control, knowing some things you can't is a really great way to be.
And this is why you're our in-house therapist. You're right between Parker and myself, so it's perfect.
Yeah, Sam, I'm
Um,
curious, what about how do you
yeah.
balance? Not to put the question on you, but I'm curious if you are really intense about your own structure. What happens on a day you don't get good sleep the night before, you're not feeling focused? Will you just trudge through that routine because you have to?
Yeah, good question. No. I'm actually, I think, more
Okay.
flexible than Parker gives me credit for. I
Well,
Mhm.
so
think he
I
just
just
knows
feel
how
like
much I
sometimes
appreciate a
They're
routine.
fighting. The men are
the
Oh,
fighting.
we're definitely
unstructuredness,
fighting.
it does. And then he shows up to Elevation Nation meeting call and he's like taking out on me. And I'm like, what's up, Sam? You didn't get your morning routine. No,
Um,
I'm just shooting shots. You've definitely
no,
I give
it's a
you a lot
good
of
question.
kudos, Sam. I really do. You've evolved. I'm not saying better for worse, but you have evolved through the years for sure.
I think, if I really think about the evolution, and thank you, Parker, going into from college when there was a lot of flexibility
Mhm.
and then struggling so much with finding out who I was and becoming a young man in the real working world and realizing I needed to put structure in to get that foundation. I then put such an emphasis on that, in my young 20s. And now that I think I have it figured out a little bit more, I'm able to flex. I'll give a
Okay.
prime example that I'm going to give myself credit for. I just went on a solo trip to Puerto Rico, right? And very type A of me. I had a lot of things planned in advance, but some flex time. And the universe liked to teach me lessons. And so I show up to Dulles Airport. I'm ready to fly to Puerto Rico and it's delayed 2.5 hours. I'm like, all right, whatever. Stay positive. I'm going to get in at 3 a.m. now. We get on the plane, we go to the runway, and they just turn around the plane. It's like 1 a.m. Cancel our flight. We're scrambling. Everything's ruined. I'm so confused. I'm like, do I just cancel the trip? Like flights are $600 to get back out there tomorrow. Go with the flow. We figured it out. We're all good. But yeah, when a plan gets ruined, I definitely get a little anxious. So good question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
but you
human
still
of
made
you.
it to Puerto Rico. And I think
Yeah.
that shows
Yeah.
your mental fortitude, your resilience, and honestly your flexibility, your capacity to allow yourself to take on what comes and not let it throw you off course. Yeah, you did get to Puerto Rico, what, 12 hours later, but at the same time, I know you still enjoyed your trip.
I love this just turned into the let's pump Sam up episode and I'm down. Thank you guys. This is really
You're
nice.
doing
I
such
needed
an
this.
amazing job. Your evolution is impeccable.
Thank you, Julia. I had a question for you, though. I
Yeah.
recently saw a documentary on Netflix that I don't remember the name, so I'll have to text it to you. But it was talking about gut issues. And it followed a few different young people who had different types of gut problems that they were facing, and how the gut is your second brain and it impacts so much of your emotions and how you feel. And more than I even think people realize, it's not just the food we eat and that's it. So I'm curious with your experiences with inflammation and gut problems, did this teach you any lessons about how it impacts your mind and then how you can kind of translate that for both yourself and your clients as well?
Definitely. I think the overcorrection on I need to have a healthy gut and only eat whole foods is really harmful. Just like the obsession with all of the information we get on our wellness, it's the same thing when we obsess over what we're eating and having the best, most perfect nutrition. And so I think a large theme of what we're talking about when it comes to wellness is this all or nothing mindset is really harmful. And so I think the best thing that I tell clients and the best thing that I've adopted is it's important to eat those Cheez-Its and Famous Amos cookies. It's important when you're with friends to go get some candy and go to the movies, and you're supposed to eat like shit sometimes. Excuse my language. You're supposed to overeat on the holidays. What a privilege that you have holidays with community and that you can overeat and digest all of that food. And so I think having, again, take a shot every time I say flexibility, when you have that flexibility, I think it's very freeing. And I think that's what improves people's mental health, that they can be free. There's nothing rigid. There's no consequence that they eat too much sugar and now they're not going to feel well for days. Okay, you might have a little bit of a headache. You might need to, drink some more water the next day, but balance is so important for your health. There's nothing that is so damaging that you can consume that's irreversible.
You make a great point, and Sam and I have started to trend towards healthier and whole and anti-inflammation, but I don't think either of us are willing to give up, the taste of something really good
Right.
if it
I had
means,
4
like
Guinness yesterday, bro. Like, yeah, we're not
yes,
giving anything up.
that but you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
there's the obsessive piece where it's like, wow, I'm going all in on this. And I feel like for a period of time, that's really good to like get yourself trained up
Yes.
and like learn and see what you like, what you don't like. But life's worth living. The good stuff is, the good stuff for a reason. And yeah, we know it's unhealthy, but sometimes I want that McDonald's cheeseburger. Sometimes I want those chips or whatever. And I
Yeah.
remember during the Olympics, there was a Danish hockey player and everyone was freaking out that he was drinking a Coca-Cola on the sideline. Like, this is an Olympian. This is someone who probably is eating so freaking healthy, getting his body in tip-top shape to perform at the highest level, yet he was having a Coca-Cola on the sideline. Granted, he probably needed some sugar, but I
Right.
just thought that was so freaking cool that even the
Yeah.
top athletes, the high performers in the world, can also just have a thing that we all agree is probably not good for you.
Yeah. I will say I absolutely love soda and grew up drinking soda for breakfast. So that definitely shifted when I had my autoimmune diagnosis. I was like, okay, we have to drink water. But I think something I am pretty rigid about, because I am talking a lot about balance, is alcohol. I very rarely drink, and I do think alcohol is poison for the body. Sorry, Sam, to hear you had 4 drinks
No,
yesterday. You will be
I did. I
okay.
poisoned myself on purpose, so it's
Um,
fine.
but I think just for inflammation, I think for brain fog, again, having a drink here and there is important. I go to my best friend's wedding, I'm going to have a drink and enjoy myself, but I can definitely still enjoy myself sober. And I think just for my overall, again, individualized wellness, I think if the two of you said you drink, I'd say agree. But I have, inflammatory markers, and alcohol is really poison for my body. And so that's something that I've tested throughout the years to say having a drink is not worth it for me. And that is very important for me of I'm limiting the alcohol intake that I do have.
What's fascinating is I feel like we're living in a world right now in 2026, and this is the discussion among friends totally. Like, people are just drinking less. And is it because we're getting older? Is it because we're getting smarter? Is it because every time I drink, I know my sleep score sucks and I also don't sleep well? Like, it's kind of bizarre. We're going through this trend right now. I mean, I talk with my parents and, even grandparents. Like, it was never even a thought. Like, that's what they did. They, on the weekends or even the weeknight, they had a glass of wine or they went out and they drank. Now I feel like Gen Z millennials are drinking less and less more than ever, and I just am always worried. I am always thinking about, like, are people fixated on the health benefit side, or they just don't like to do it anymore?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Where are you both in your journeys? Have you slowed down on drinking? Also, just stage of life that you're in? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a good point. For me, I mean, I think in terms of alcohol, I'm drinking less during the week. For sure. Barely drink during the week at all, and even going out to dinner, like, back in the day, even after college, it's, "Oh, like, glass of wine, beer," and, like, I'm
Hmm.
totally cool whether I'm with my wife, with friends, it's like, "No, let's just go and enjoy our meal," it's not even a thought. Also, drinking in New York City is really expensive, so it's saving a buck by even not
Yeah.
drinking, and then also, I don't know if you've read Atomic Habits, Julia, but great book on just setting habits and,
Yeah.
things are he talks about how making things accessible or inaccessible is really good to building habits or bad to building bad habits. We've just gotten rid of all the alcohol in our apartment and put it in
Mhm.
places we can't even see it. And then obviously as a result of that, we're drinking less. We're not even thinking about it. But for me personally, it's really a sleep thing. I know that when I drink, I sleep like shit. And that is a consistent fact for me. And Sam knows sleep is number one priority for a good day for me. And I obsess over it. It's probably the number one thing I obsess over. And alcohol's fun in the short. Those hangovers for me can last a couple of days.
Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm old. It's definitely slowed down. It hurts. I think probably less than Parker because I'm single and a lot of my friends are still going out and doing things. But like us going out is not staying out late and drinking anymore. It's like slowly going out during the day and watching a game and having a couple Guinness, and that's about it. And then we're eating dinner and going to bed by 9:30. So it's certainly evolved. And I think to your point, Julia, of take a shot of non-alcoholic drink, being flexible, you just have to find what works for you, right? And finding those little wins that you can, whether that's cutting out alcohol just during the weekdays, or for me, my
Yep.
newest thing that I've been trying to do is eat locally grown fruits, vegetables, right? Joined a farm share. Like that is how I can kind of take control of my holistic journey. And so kind of stacking just some of those small wins on top of each other has helped me in my mental health. It's also given me a new hobby that I'm interested in. Like I like food. I like holistic health. I like learning about this stuff. And so I think people are seeing the ties more and more to what we put into our bodies and our mental health and seeing the benefits of that. Um, but Julie, I do have a question for you that's not on
Yes.
our list that you're going to be mad at me for. So I'm going to bring it up. Last episode, we threw a curveball at you about AI, and you so eloquently answered it very well with no prep. You've had a year to think about it. I think I'm at a stage in my life where I have turned to AI too much for my mental health companionship. I use it for everything, to validate how I'm feeling, to make sure I'm not going crazy. If I'm in a situation, to get some feedback, some coaching, some pushback when I don't have my therapist with me 24/7. I now have gotten to the point, and I think Parker probably called this, where I'm like, okay, I'm just doing this to make myself feel better.
Hmm.
And it's probably not healthy. I'm curious how you've seen the rise of AI in the last year impact, your clients and your line of work as these AI therapists have become, more prevalent.
Yeah. Well, I'm not mad at you. Fair question, relevant question. Again, I think for what we're talking about, I think a really nice use of AI and using chat is talking about like how can I better, form a routine, or am I being extreme? What's a meal idea? I have clients who find recipes on chat of, hey, I have these ingredients. What are some healthy meals I can cook? Or what should I get at the grocery store? I think having it to add a little bit of value is great. Personally, I don't even have a login on ChatGPT. I really do not use AI, which is for better or for worse. So I'm definitely on the other end of the bias asking this question. But I think one of the pillars of my work with anxiety OCD is the compulsion called reassurance seeking, where when you're experiencing a negative emotion, you're experiencing discomfort, you seek reassurance to make yourself feel better, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's WebMD or Google. AI has become the next biggest compulsion for my clients where people call chat, there's a nickname now. They call it chat, where I didn't know that, and I hear my clients saying, "Yeah, I was asking chat," right? Even just the language around it, how casual it's become, that it's really an important pillar of people's lives. That's where I get worried of what you're describing is reassurance seeking. When you're constantly getting reassurance from AI, a family, a friend, you're really facilitating the cycle of temporarily easing your anxiety that what you're experiencing is normal, that you're valid, and then the anxiety pops back in. And then you're asking chat again, and it's really this loop of anxiety. And so what we want is for you to be able to tolerate discomfort, where whenever you're going to your chat, I would probably say to you, what if you just sat in that? What if you sat in the discomfort of the negative emotion or the ounce of uncertainty you were feeling and you self soothed and you self regulated? I think people would be a lot more resilient. Talk about that mental fortitude. I think the reassurance people are getting from AI being really dependent on it, I think it's decreasing their mental fortitude. I think it's important to sit in discomfort. And that's why, anybody with OCD is on WebMD, like, am I dying? Because they need that reassurance. But your brain's always going to remind you of that 1% of uncertainty.
I love where you're going with this, Julia, and let's think of it in the lens of someone who's trying to be a better performer at work, right? Now that intelligence is on an equal playing field for everyone, everyone can go and get their answers via Chat GPT or Gemini or Copilot or Claude or whatever it might be. It might tell you the right answer, but it'll never tell you how to actually apply that in the real world. And Sam and I talk about a different AI. We've talked about this before, is authentic intelligence and why that is going to be differentiators, not just in the business world of what employers are going to be looking for, how you use your EQ skills and your people skills and your communication and be a leader and bring your
Yeah.
ideas to life. But to the way you just described it, it's almost how do you take information and just know it's information, and it gives you it's a tool to give you the agency to then go do something with it. Wow, I have this information. ChatGPT told me that I'm feeling this way. Oh, Parker, you're going to be fine. Consider these 3 things. Or saying, you know what? Thank you, chat. I still feel like shit. I got to go call my mom and have a good conversation with her. Like ChatGPT is not going to do that for me, right?
Right.
It might give me the information, but it's the agency to go do that is becoming so important. And I'm fearful too that a lot of people, especially young people, are just relying fully on the AI to just say, hey, here's the playbook and just follow it. Whether it's, you want to write a blog, you want to create a video, you have an idea for a business, or, how you write a love letter to your girlfriend. Like it's a crazy world we're living in. It
No,
really
that's not
is.
right. You better never write a love letter to
Never.
your wife. That is
I
not
was
your
about to
own
say,
words.
Parker, what girlfriend are you talking about, bro? You're married, so you better watch
Well,
yourself.
that's why I said girlfriend, because I don't do
Okay.
that. So I was
Right.
applying examples
Okay.
for
Just making sure.
possibly other people in Elevation Nation.
Good.
Well, Julia, I mean, I think you certainly psychoanalyzed me to a T, and I've even called myself, right? That's why I brought it up and have admitted that this has been something that I've been struggling with as I would get into these negative mindsets of things, going to ChatGPT for reassurance that I'm not messed up has become a very easy habit for me. And the last 6 weeks, I was actually in a nervous system class, like master class, with one of my mentors, Tori Gordon, who will be on the podcast one day, and learning all about some of these ways that I can feel more with my body and not my mind. And when my mind is racing, I go to ChatGPT for reassurance. So you have my word that I'm going to sit with the discomfort, something that someone with mental fortitude should be able to do. And I'm excited to see how I grow from it. So thank you for that nudge. I want to bring us to another topic that I think AI is certainly leading us down, unfortunately, as well as social media, and that's the loneliness epidemic, especially in young men, but I'll say for everybody that I think young people are feeling lost, alone, isolated as they enter the air quotes real world. Many of us are working from home. We don't interact with many people in person, and we're feeling extremely lonely. And Parker and I have noticed this around many of the young men that we mentor outside of, EY and Elevation Nation, is they don't feel like themselves. They feel like a shell of themselves. Now they feel more lonely. And so I'm curious if you've seen loneliness rise in the last couple years and how you think people can alleviate that loneliness feeling.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic, and I think especially relating it to men is probably resonate with a lot of your audience. Again, I think post-COVID, we've seen a lot of this, and I think we talked about this in our last pod episode of that emotional EQ of social skills and being able to advocate for yourself in a business meeting and make eye contact. And I think there's a huge rise in social anxiety because of this. People have gotten comfortable having meetings from home or not having a lot of social interactions. So I think with the rise of social anxiety, there's a lot of exposure therapy of even going to therapy in person can be really vulnerable and exposing. And so definitely post COVID, I agree with you. There's that loneliness epidemic. And I think in men, it reminds me when you say that. I don't know if you've ever heard or read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It's an amazing book. I think it was written in the 90s, but it really talks about just the innate behaviors of women versus men, their communication styles. And men go in their cave when there's a problem. Where women, we want to talk, we want to beat a dead horse, you want to talk about something over and over. That's kind of the best point of female friendship is we could talk about something over and over, we still have something new to say. Where with men, they have a problem. They're not seeking empathy and support instantly. They're going in a cave to say, I should know how to problem solve. I should know how to fix this problem and I can figure it out. And so, because men's innate behavior, and again, this is a generalization, you two or a listener might not be the same, but I think society has said that men need to be problem solvers and need to be providers. They need to be stable. And so, I think that epidemic, this loneliness epidemic, is men realizing, wait, I don't have a lot of close connections. I think on top of this, I think male friendships are dominated in activities. How many males are going golfing, are going to play basketball, are going to do some activity where how deep are you really getting in those activities? Hey, what's going on, man? Everything's good. Hit the golf ball, right? Where women are getting together, it's how are you doing? What's going on? Give me everything, right? There's this innate difference in how women interact versus men. And so I think I see you smiling. I want to know what you're both thinking. I think this innate difference is causing a lot of loneliness where men are like, I don't have any close emotional relationships, maybe besides their wife. I think men end up opening up to their partners. But what happens if you break up? You realize a lot of your emotional support was coming from your wife or your partner. So I'm curious how that lands and resonates for the both of you.
I have a lot of thoughts on this one,
Well,
um,
let's hear it.
as well. First of all, men can beat a dead horse around football any day of the week. We could talk about football
Okay.
and sports forever. I just want to put that out there. JJ's always like, "How are you guys talking about the same thing for like?" And it's like, "Yeah, we're just talking about football." I don't know. Jokes
Oh, that
aside,
a very good point. Football season, there's a lot to talk about. March Madness.
March Madness. Yeah, that's a good point. Jokes aside, though, we had another elevator join us a couple weeks ago, and she brought up a term called parasocial relationships, and it really got me intrigued. And we had a great conversation about it. And I didn't even know or think about what a parasocial relationship is, but it's basically a one-sided relationship. And we had this conversation was that people with the phone today are engaging in more parasocial relationships than ever before. And it's simply because of the advent of social media, where celebrities and influencers have gotten so good and understanding how to connect with a broader audience that you almost feel as if that you're friends with them, but they have no idea who you are. You only know who they are. And what's happening is that because of or the authentic videos that you're coming across, or they seem authentic, you're creating a relationship and a bond with someone you don't know. And as a result of that, it's almost like you care more sometimes about what's going on in that person's life than other people that you know in your life, because maybe that person you're following is doing the things that you want to do or you like to do with your friends. And what's happening is that, and this is what I mean, I've just felt it, and the data also backs it up, is that people are just reverting to these parasocial relationships instead because they're more gratifying. They're more satisfying. They feed that dopamine a little bit differently when you want it, opposed to, "Hey, Sam, you wanna go and meet at the park? Ah, I gotta go and walk to the park. Sam's gotta hop on a train here." It's like it's a full thing to be able to do, opposed to just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna pull out my phone and I'm gonna look, you know, at my influencer who talks about walking in the park."
Right.
So, Julia, I'm curious what your thoughts on parasocial relationships are.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think again, I just hear from what you just said a lack of vulnerability. Of it's easier to get on TikTok and social media and distract yourself and think about and care about someone who doesn't really know you. But again, that person might feel really connected to that influencer. I think in some situations it can be beneficial that they see themselves in an influencer. They think it's authentic. But what I hear is there isn't this effort for a vulnerable, mutually beneficial relationship. But I wonder what it would be like if you called Sam and said, let's go to the park. Maybe you'd actually have to talk about what's going on with you. Somebody would actually ask you about if you're okay, what you're dealing with. Where when you're on TikTok, nobody's asking you anything. And I think there's some sort of safety there that people really like. And so not only is it parasocial and it's only one sided, I think it's a really large escape for people that is also causing this loneliness epidemic of why have to expose yourself, be vulnerable, talk to people if you can just disassociate and scroll.
And we certainly believe at Elevation Nation, we hope at least, that we play one small part in showing that vulnerability amongst men is not only okay, but it's cool. One of the things Parker and I, maybe now we can't because we're old, but when we first started Elevation Nation, we used to say, like, these are frat guys getting deep. And we wanted that to be the face of kind of what we were building at Elevation Nation, because for so long we were told that that wasn't okay and that wasn't cool. And amongst our friends, that didn't fit us. We loved to talk deep. We loved to think about life. We liked to get meta and vulnerable. And we realized that I think a lot of young guys out there were missing that and wanted that and just didn't have the proper outlets. And so it's something we've certainly focused on at Elevation Nation with the podcast, and something we are trying to build with our next company and our next venture, because we think there's such a need amongst young men who are ambitious and trying to get the most out of life. They're the ones that need to take a step back and be vulnerable in a group
Yeah.
that supports them and helps them grow. And so that's in the works, slowly but
It, it's
surely.
it's almost like someone's got to be out there, or maybe it's us, or Julia, you're part of this too. Is like convincing people that authentic, real relationships with people where you're actually engaging with them in person is better than anything that you're going to get isolated and through a phone. But
Yes.
I'm not convinced that people are convinced that that is better, because it doesn't feel better, I feel like, to many. We're all part of the trap too, because the phone is manufactured in a way to convince you that that is almost better, and that's why you keep going back to it. And
Right.
so it's such an interesting time, because I want to live in that world where we're convincing everyone that the other option is always, it feels like, a better option.
Right. But the option that you're presenting to people is unconventional, maybe for a lot of men, and also scary and exposing. Where if you're saying, let's have authentic, real conversations, a lot of people don't really go towards those conversations. I agree with you. Anybody I meet, I'm like, how are you? How are you feeling about that? They tell me one thing. How do you feel? It's my go to question. It's a problem when I'm in social situations that I'm asking everyone how they're feeling, but that's how I feel connected to people. And I don't think everybody's like that, but I want to know how someone's doing so I can feel connected to them. When I know somebody's struggling or they tell me something personal, that's how I form connections, not just what's going on, how's work, how's this. And so I think what you guys are doing sounds wonderful. And I think starting slow is probably the best opportunity, not get off your phone and have all these vulnerable conversations. Maybe it's a little bit of both of how can the people that you're mentoring ease into conversational intimacy without feeling like they need to divulge all their secrets and become too vulnerable. What does the middle look like? What does a first step look like of being more authentic? I think you giving examples of that and helping people inch their way into authenticity would be a really good idea.
So well said. And you certainly picked the right line of work for the question that makes you feel connected to people. So well done on that. Julia, I want to move us to how Parker and I feel connected with our guests, and that's through our rapid fire questions. We have a couple
Alright.
quick hitting questions to ask you again this time. So I will start us off. You mentioned you're a soda girly. What is your soda of choice?
Root beer.
I need a brand. Let's get specific here.
Yeah, there's some different root beer brands out there, and you're allowed to say like Costco.
You know what? I don't know what root beer brand I'm thinking of, but when I go to the movies and I'm getting a gigantic cup of soda, I'm clicking root beer.
Okay.
Well, if it's Coca-Cola brand, I think it is Barks. Is that it, Sam? Barks?
I think you're right. See, we grew
No,
up in the
that doesn't sound
Midwest on the little
familiar.
bulldog. I think it was called Mug.
You
The little
That's it.
AW? Oh,
yeah, the little
mug.
the little bulldog guy.
The Bulldog or the AW? I'm
It's
looking it up now. I'm not really particular. I think any root beer is wonderful.
It's a good
It's kind of
choice. I
funny
like
that
root
we
beer
don't
too.
associate a single brand with like root beer, but like we have Coke,
Right.
like Sprite. But root beer, to your point, it's like kind of there's a lot of different options out there. You got to go find what's right for you.
Yeah. I grew up going
Julia,
to
uh,
Stewart's. You got the chicken fingers,
oh,
the root
that's
beer
another one.
float. Yeah. I just thought about that.
Okay, so I got a question. I mean, we're gonna stay on this line of food because now your world has opened up. Your non-gluten free world.
Yes.
So, what is the food that you're loving these days? And also, like, what's a food that you thought you would love more and you're just like, about?
Oh, those are great questions. Maybe the best questions you've asked all night. Um, Something I'm absolutely loving is pizza. Gluten-free pizza does not compare to a slice of regular pizza. Even just the loaf of bread on the table they give you with some butter, that's all I'm asking for to be able to eat. So I feel like any carb is so amazing. What's something that hasn't lived up to my expectations? I don't know. I feel like the world has opened up for me, and I am not here to complain. I am just so happy to eat whatever I feel like eating that I don't want to put that negativity out there. I'm just happy to eat and digest and be healthy.
That's a very positive, good answer. We love it. All right, Julia, you're experienced how we end every Elevation Nation episode. And so we have to ask you to share with Elevation Nation and with all of us. You've given us so much wisdom today, and we appreciate you opening up. We want to ask you again, what is your mental motto?
I would say, based on everything that has happened over the last year, my mental motto recently is I have enough for this moment. Not thinking about what I don't have, the ways that I don't feel well, saying that I have enough for this moment, connecting to gratitude has been amazing to get me through these last couple months.
It's a beautiful mindset. It's a beautiful motto. We are
Thanks.
so infinitely proud and grateful of you for, again, like I said, I mean, it's unpaid, but I think you're stuck in this role now as our honorary
Yeah,
psychotherapist.
you're
And
stuck
so
with
we're
me.
so, yeah, we love it. You're right in the middle between both of us. We want to, make sure we shout out. You do have a panel for Mental Health Awareness Month coming up. Do you want to give some details on that?
Yes, I would love to. So, the location is Arrive Wellness in New York City. I think it's on West 29th Street. It's going to be on May 14th. It's a Thursday night from 6:30 to 8:30. I'm having some really cool guests, and it's going to be for Mental Health Awareness Month. We'll have some snacks, some sponsors, and we're just going to have a really authentic, vulnerable conversation led by me. So it should be really fun because I'm going to ask all of the hard-hitting vulnerable personal questions. So my panelists, they should be scared, but it's going to be such a fun night. And I hope you guys can come. And if you can put the link in the bio of this podcast or something for people to sign up, that would be amazing.
That's easy to do. And we can't wait to see you absolutely crush it as you always do. And I know you got a few other things in the pipeline with speaking. And so,
Yes.
Julia, we're just so grateful that you joined Elevation Nation back last year. You've come back on. We'll have to have you back again eventually, maybe even at one of our own events and speaking gigs.
I
But
would love
Julia, on
to.
behalf of Sam, myself, and the rest of Elevation Nation, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Elevation Nation. If you enjoyed our conversation, hit that subscribe button to get notified when we release a new episode. If you would like to join Elevation Nation or get more information about the nation, please visit our website at www.elevationnation.io. Until next week, Elevation Nation, peace.